So, Pokemon card reprints. I thought we'd have a look today at what it means and how's it going to impact your investments. But before we step into that, I wanted to sort of have a bit of a chat for a quick minute or so about what's been happening the last 3 years. If you're someone that's just jumped in the hobby, maybe late 2020 or 2021 or 2022, or even just got into it this year with the Scarlet and Violet release, I suppose I want to make one thing pretty clear. The last 3 years since COVID has been as an absolute anomaly. That it hasn't been the normal. I remember for as long as I know, for 15 plus years, a fossil booster pack was $15, $20 Australian. And it only just saw some meteoric rise from sort of 2020 onwards. For ages and ages, a lot of XY sets that were overprinted due to the Pokemon Go craze, like absolutely printed to oblivion, like Evolutions and Roaring Skies, for argument's sake, they were hovering around $200 Australian a booster box for a long, long time. Even all the way back to EX series, I remember pulling Gold Star Celebi, thinking I was absolute Hollywood, and even all the way back in 2000 and selling it, I think in 2010 on eBay for $50, thinking, you know, I've made good money off this. My point is, you could still buy EX series booster packs for $15, 5, 6, 7 years after release. So the last 3 years where sets have just been launched at $180 Australian a box or $170 Australian a box, and have all of a sudden risen to $300, $400, or in Evolving Skies case, $600, is not the normal. So what I'm getting at is the reprints that are coming, the prices or the impacts that it could have, which I'll get into soon, and I suppose the stabilisation of those prices maybe over the next 1, 2, 3, even up to 5 years, shouldn't be something to be alarmed about. So anyway, let's get into it. I think there's 3 main impacts that reprints are going to have. Now, obviously, at the core of it, what does a reprint do? All it does is add more supply onto the market. That's essentially what it does. And, you know, I don't blame, it's a business. Why wouldn't you? If there's still demand for it and people are going to buy it, why wouldn't you print more of it? And that's exactly what happened in the XY era with Evolutions and Roaring Skies. The Pokemon Go craze caused a heap of demand, so printers went into overdrive. As most people know, there was more printers bought 2022 as well, 2021. So printing's ramped up. Like, if there's demand for it, why not print it? The more you print, the more money you make. It's a business. I don't blame them. But I think first main impact, and some of these are probably going to be no-brainers, if you're adding more supply to the market, the first impact that it's going to have is single prices should, or in most cases will, drop. So, in terms of singles dropping, again, I thought we'll jump in, we'll have a look at Brilliant Stars. 3 main chase cards from the set, obviously the Charizard V Alt Art, then we'll have a look at the Charizard V-Star, and we'll jump in and have a look at that Arceus V Alt Art. So, the Charizard V Alt Art, the most desirable chase card from the set, really nice looking card, sort of peaked $200, and then after these reprints, it's dropped down to about $136. So that Charizard has been hit, you could argue, pretty hard by the reprints. There's been some other sets like Evolving Skies that have been a bit more resilient to second waves of printing, and cards are still going up. But second one, obviously here, the Rainbow 107 down to what's it sitting at now? About $62. So, I mean, that's another card. I actually really like that. Is probably the best looking rainbow, and I'm not a fan of rainbow cards, but that is the best looking rainbow card, and has been, yeah, severely hit, you'd say. Next one I just wanted to have a squiz at was the Arceus V. So that's one of the things of Brilliant Stars. It's hyped up to be such a good set, but there's actually not too many heavy-hitting cards. I mean, the Arceus V, $50. What's it sitting at now? $31.50. So again, that has also been impacted quite heavily by these reprints. Brilliant Stars, yeah, the singles prices have really, really dropped. So the second main impact that extra supply or reprints will have is that sealed pricing will drop. And we've seen that quite consistently and quite regularly every time a Sword and Shield booster box gets a reprint, whether it was Darkness Ablaze starting to go on the rise, then it gets a reprint and dips. Whether it was Vivid Voltage starting to go on the rise, then it gets a reprint and dips. Even Evolving Skies, the Untouchable, that was going up in price quite steadily at one stage, and then when it got its second wave of printing, did take a dip before it obviously shot straight back up again. So the facts are pretty clear, and I know some of these sound almost like no-brainers, but the second big impact that obviously a reprint is going to have is it's going to drop sealed prices. It's going to drop booster box prices. It's going to drop ETB prices, and it's going to drop them for a little while. So we're going to continue with our example of Brilliant Stars. I mean, this had a reprint, like I was saying, around April, not a massive one, but one, and it has dropped sealed prices. So I thought we'll jump in and have a look at the booster box price. At one stage there, which is sort of crazy, it was up around 185 US a box. This is obviously data off TCG Player. And then, after slowly going down, but April when the reprint hit, now down to about 135, 140 US a box. Which brings me on to point number 3, is that sealed prices will stabilize, and could stabilize, stagnate, interchangeable words, I guess, but it could stagnate for quite a serious period of time. And an example I wanted to use was Vivid Voltage. I'll bring it up. Let's bring it up in 2 seconds. But Vivid Voltage was not a bad set. I know it doesn't have alt arts. I know it doesn't have a trainer gallery, but it's got 2 nice Pikachu cards, particularly that Rainbow Pikachu. It introduced the amazing rares, which sort of almost brought back that Gold Star effect where the Pokemon was popping out of the border. That Rayquaza amazing rare is just a really nice card. So it wasn't a bad set, but it got reprinted absolutely into the ground. Right, so if we have a look at this graph down here, Vivid Voltage, TCG Player, as you can see, the booster box has been sitting at anywhere from $120 to $135 for the last, 12 months. It's just stagnated. Now, I don't think it's huge cause for alarm. I do think Vivid Voltage will rise. There's just so much supply still left on the market that it's really stagnated the booster box price. So to summarize quickly at the end here, 3 big impacts from reprints or extra supply. And I know they almost sound like no-brainers, but we should see single prices drop, we should see sealed prices drop, and we should also see sealed prices stagnate for a fair period of time. And how long that is, I guess depends on the demand still for the set. Like Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage, which you could argue probably have little to no demand at the moment, there's still a fair bit of supply in the market, and therefore that's why their prices have remained quite steady for, 12, 18, 24 months even now. So what does it mean? How's it going to affect us in terms of our investing future? And I guess the argument should be, in a lot of cases, you should try and buy at the dip. So if there has been a reprint and prices dip significantly, I think that's probably a good time to buy. Now, sometimes you can hold out, and I was one of them. I'll put my hand up with Evolving Skies. I thought it was going to get a third wave of printing and prices were going to dip down again. So I was holding off buying it 250 Australian. I was holding off buying at 300 Australian. I was holding off buying $400 Australian, thinking, you know, there was going to be a reprint and it was going to dip back to retail price, and it just never happened. So sometimes you can miss the boat. But, you know, for example, the Lost Origin reprint that's supposed to be happening around when, I think maybe June, July or August, I think. You know, if that dips back, that is a great set, by the way. So if that dips back down to a retail price, I don't think it's going to be a bad pickup. So sometimes a reprint can be a good thing in the investing space. In the case of, like I was saying, those earlier Sword and Shield sets, 3 and 4, like Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage, sometimes it can just wreck them for a long period of time. But tracing right back to my thoughts at the start, you know, that was the normal. That was the normal for a long period of time, that sets would stagnate and remain at retail price for sometimes 5 years. So don't let it alarm you. If you actually plan on investing for a long period of time, I don't think you need to worry about it. One day, believe it or not, Vivid Voltage will go up. Like, Vivid Voltage is a nice looking set. In 10 years' time, it isn't going to still be 220 Australian dollars a box. So if you can have, what do they say, diamond hands, not paper hands, you'll be fine. Ride out the reprint storm. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I know this video today was a bit of a no-brainer with what the 3 impacts of the print runs are, but if you've got any extra thoughts or comments, please drop them below. Love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching.